everybody. I'm Melinda Emerson, the Small Biz Lady, and I want to welcome you to another episode of the Small Biz Chat podcast live. We have an amazing show for you all today. We're going to be talking about how to grow your business through acquisition. We're also going to talk about, have you ever just thought about turning your business into a franchise? And we're going to talk to a very famous franchise owner that you guys know. He's a franchisor, he's not a franchisee. And we're going to talk about the process you have to go through if you think you want to turn your business into a franchise. And we all have heard about real estate. You need to get started in real estate. Well, listen, I have one of the top real estate gurus out of Hotlanta here with us today, who's going to talk about what you need to do if you want to get started dibbling and dabbling in real estate. So if you want to be a flipper, you are in the right place. Now, here on the Small Biz Chat podcast, our mission is to end small business failure. And this is a peer-to-peer mentoring show. So here you're going to get advice that you otherwise would have to pay for. So what we want you to do is do us a favor. We want you to subscribe to this channel. We want you to share this information. We want small business owners to win. And so that is why we are here today. And I have three amazing guests. My first guest, his name is Jack Wilson. He's a franchise development consultant, and he has a lot of great background. And he's going to talk about how to buy a business, how to pick the business you want to buy, and whether or not that business should be a franchise. So we're going to talk about that. Next, we're going to talk with Keenan Fisher, and Keenan is the head of Tommy Gun. He's going to talk to us about how he built his business and turned it into a franchise all over the US and Canada. And then we're going to talk to Miss Sonia Booker, who is my good friend and real estate guru of the South. And we're going to talk to her about getting started as in real estate as an entrepreneur, as a way to build your retirement with real estate, right? That's kind of what we're going to be talking about. So stay tuned. I want you guys to know that I do this podcast because I love you guys. And I'm so excited to have these amazing experts here with us today. So first up, I'm going to be talking with my guest, Jack Wilson. Hi, Jack. How are you?
Hi, Melinda. I'm great. And thank you so much for having me be a part of this.
Oh, gosh. Well, let me properly introduce you, and then we're going to dive in. Jack Wilson is a franchise development consultant with Homewell Care Services. He's been involved in franchising since 2012. Jack also owns Rezultz Team, a franchise consulting firm affiliated with the Franchise Brokers Association. His expertise spans the areas of franchise, independent startups, mergers, acquisitions, business growth strategies, and business exit planning. Jack's formerly owned and operated the franchise Liquid Capital of Greater Philadelphia, a certified MBE company focused on accelerating cash flow for small and medium-sized B2B businesses. For more information on his company, you can go to the Rezultz.com. And that's results spelled with a Z, y'all. So it's REZULTZ team.com. Jack, welcome to the Small Biz Chat podcast.
Thank you.
All right. So tell us about your background. How did you get into this whole world of business? I know you had a 20-year career in corporate and telecom, but tell us how you kind of took that check and ran on into entrepreneurship. How did you do that?
Yeah, great. Well, you know what? I fortunately had an opportunity to be in a leadership continuity program with that big corporation. So they had me in 17 different assignments in 22 years. So I got a chance to go across the country. And every time I would go across the country, I was typically the highest ranking executive from our company there. So of course, all of the chambers of commerce and economic councils would ask me to get involved, which I did. And what it exposed me to was small business ownership, because I would constantly be in front of small businesses trying to get business from bigger businesses. And that's really what piqued my interest. I've always loved small business. I started my own business when I was 12 years old, but ultimately I left the corporate world and said, I'm diving in. this is exactly what I want to do. So I did a lot of nonprofit work for organizations such as SCORE. And I started helping small businesses with their primary issues: business planning, marketing, the needs for marketing, as well as access to capital. Ultimately, I purchased a franchise. Why? To solve one of those problems: access to capital. And I actually had that franchise for over 10 years, had a great exit strategy. We'll touch on exit strategy later. Hopefully, in our conversation, I'll try to bring that in. And then became a speaker for franchising with the International Franchise Association and a number of cities across the country who invited me in, as well as universities, to speak on entrepreneurship and franchising specifically.
Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. So let's dive into why I really invited you here, which is let's talk about how to buy an existing business. So often entrepreneurs come to me and they got this idea, they want to build from scratch, but that's the hard way to go into business, right? So let's talk about how to buy an existing business. What are the key factors that you need to be looking at when you are evaluating a potential business for purchase?
Yeah. So the first thing to think about is this is a different mindset. So instead of the mindset of starting from scratch, there's a phrase that's used called the acquisition entrepreneur. And that's really what you're doing here, right? And basically, generically, it is just someone who builds their career, creates wealth by buying and growing existing businesses rather than starting from scratch, like you're saying. So, why is that? And how do they do that? Really, they focus on leveraging the stability in an existing business, the cash flow in an existing business, the customer base and operational structure of an established business. And that helps that acquisition entrepreneur focus on scaling it, optimizing it, and transforming that business, which most of those small businesses that you can purchase actually are in line to do. In fact, when you think about it, about only 4% of all the businesses, small businesses in the United States, do over $1 million in revenue, annual revenue. So if you think about it, Melinda, many that are in that 500,000 and below, 500,000 to a million, never hit that $1 million mark. But what's a way to do it? Shift that mindset, look at how acquisition can help you grow. And by doing it that way, in a very simple way, although there's a lot of pieces to it, you can get to break that threshold, have something that is an asset that is sellable at the end, and really be able to zero in on not just creating the kind of lifestyle you want, but also have an asset that you can sell at the end of the day.
So, Jack, tell me, what are the actual metrics that you need to be thinking about when you look in a business? I years ago heard somebody say, when you buy in a business, you are buying somebody else's problem. So tell me, what are the things that I should be looking at if I'm considering purchasing a business?
Well, you're exactly right, Melinda. You have to be careful. So, to assess that growth potential of a business, because that's what you're looking for, right? How is it going to grow after this acquisition? There are some real key metrics, some qualitative factors that you got to consider. There's a lot of them. Things like revenue growth rate, right? And you're really looking here for like organic growth, that kind of growth rate. That's going to help you see, you know what, there's some sustainability here for financial expansion here. You're going to look at gross and net margins. Are they strong? If so, what they're suggesting is efficient operations and profitability. See, that can be reinvested into growth. Then you're going to look at some things like customer acquisition and retention rates. A lot of times people don't know to look at those, but you really want to look at things like customer acquisition costs and high customer lifetime value, that you may hear the acronym CLV. Why are those things needed? Because what that shows is a scalable customer base. Many of these businesses have grown to a certain level and have plateaued. So it's okay. It's kind of like going in and buying a fixer upper. It's good enough for the person who is in there, but when you come in, you're going to make some different changes there. But you want to see that it's got, you know how you say in real estate, this house got good bones. We're going to buy this and then we're going to build from that. Some other things you're going to look at is market share and total addressable market. Is there more to get, or is it saturated? You really want to analyze that, because scalability, that's going to be the key. If it's not scalable, then maybe it is what it's going to be. You want it to have some scalability. So what are you looking for now? You're going to be looking at things like operational efficiencies. You're going to look for things like technology. Many of these small businesses, they're backdated from a technological standpoint. Some simple investments in technology or just changes can really help. But things like that really signal the business's capacity to grow without a whole lot of proportional cost, right? You don't need a whole lot to put in to get that happening. You also
So
want to look, go ahead.
so let me just, because I've got a lot I want to ask you. What are some of the kinds of businesses that might be good to look at?
Mm.
Is it service-based business? Is it product-based business? Like what I mean, because service just sounds like staff, and I gotta either find staff or keep staff or figure out if these staff is good. Tell me about what you need to be thinking about in terms of the kinds of businesses to go after.
Yeah, so you mentioned a couple of them that are really good types of businesses. But hey, I'm a franchise guy. So you know what I'm going to say? Look at franchise businesses. Why do you look at franchise businesses? Because you can get there faster. If you get the right franchise that fits you, that fits your investment level, that fits your timeline, that's in a good vertical. So think verticals. You always want to think verticals. Think whether it's franchise or not. The biggest industries right now, things like pet care, things like child care and educational services, things like home services, senior care, and then personal care and wellness. Those are the top ones. And then you could move into things like online e-commerce type stuff, and things like that, subscription based businesses, digital content businesses. Those are all big ones as well. But yeah, there's a lot out there that you could look at, but you want to stay in areas that are not just hot areas, but things that are good now and have growth. The senior care, I'll give you an example right now. 11,000 people a day are turning 65. By
Wow.
2050, there'll be over 19 million people in this country 85 years old. That's the kind of business. I don't mean just senior care, but it gives you the metrics you're looking for to say, you know what, this is going to be in it for the long run. I can be in this, start a family legacy, have an option for my child, or have a great exit strategy. Those are the types of businesses you want to zero in on.
All right, so now I figured out this business I want to buy. I want to buy this personal care home. How do I finance that? I mean, am I writing a personal check for 1.2 million? I mean, like, tell me, what are some of the ways that I can build, a war chest? If you obviously I have to have some money, but how much money do I really have, and where can I go and get some resources to buy an existing business?
Well, there's lots of strategies. You're right. In most cases, you got to have some money, right? But when you're buying or acquiring a small business, seller financing is a big one. What does that look like? Well, that's where the seller agrees to kind of finance a portion of that sale, and they allow you to pay them back over time, usually in that 3 to 7 year range. Usually has some interest. But what that does is reduce your immediate cash requirement and allows you to spread out that cost. And obviously, you can see what some of those benefits are. That seller wants to sell, you want to buy, right? You have a vested interest, just like they have a vested interest. So usually, you can make that kind of deal quicker, and it's usually more flexible than a bank loan. But speaking of bank loans, you want to really consider the SBA, the Small Business Administration. They don't do the lending, but they back the banks that lend them. So an SBA, the SBA 7A loan, it really is great for business acquisitions. They have favorable terms, low down payment requirements. Typically, they're obviously going to be lower than a traditional type loan, longer repayment periods, usually up to about 10 years, and competitive interest rates. And really, I push people in the direction to at least listen to what an SBA loan can be, so that they see if it fits them. But here's another one that I want to make sure I mention, because there's a lot of them, so many we can't even talk about all of them. But one of them has an acronym called ROBS, ROBS. It's a personal savings and retirement account is what you use, your personal savings. A lot of people say, oh, I'm not touching my retirement. Well, guess what you've done? You're allowing someone else to say, I'm going to invest his money here or her money there. But this Rob's program, Rollover for Business Startups, is an IRS approved program, right? Where you can use your retirement funds in a 401k or an IRA, roll those over into a business acquisition without incurring any early withdrawal penalties or taxes. So it allows you to use your retirement funds there to finance that acquisition without taking on debt. And it's really useful for buyers who really are having a struggle with other type of financing operations or options.
All right. Well, here's the last question I'm going to ask you before we go to break. What are some of the red flags to look out for when you're looking at a business that you potentially want to buy?
Yeah, and there's again so many of those. You can just have a total piece on just the red flags. But one of the things you always want to find out right up front is you want to find out, see the financial statements and really look for things that are missing, things that are incomplete, unaudited financial records, discrepancies in the financial statements they might have, a whole lot of reliance on cash only transactions, or if they say, oh, my taxes, I don't have the taxes to show you. Those are big red flag things. Another one that's common as well is high customer concentration. So they have a $3 million business, but 2.5 million of it is with Comcast or somebody like that, right? Well, that one deal goes and you don't have that business anymore. A lot of owner dependence. So if you can determine that this business truly is reliant on that owner, and maybe replacement might be detrimental, that's a red flag, as well as declining revenue or profit trends going in the negative area. And definitely you always want to look at the legal issues, right? Are there any unresolved legal issues or compliance issues that they've just kind of been kicking the can down the road? You don't want to get caught with that can. And always an easy one is high employee turnover. All of those things are definite red flags. And there's a zillion more, Melinda.
I'm sure. I know there is. And when we come right back on the Small Biz Chat podcast, we're going to talk more with Jack Wilson about the do's and don'ts of buying an existing business. You're watching the Small Biz Chat podcast, and we'll be right back.
Are you ready to turn your dreams of entrepreneurship into a reality? Hi, I'm Melinda Emerson, the Small Biz Lady, and I want to invite you to check out smallbizladyacademy.com. We're here to help you every step of the way with our comprehensive training programs and expert resources. You'll learn how to start and grow a successful business that aligns with your passions and your goals. From business systems to sales strategies, we cover it all. Plus, our supportive community of fellow women business owners is here to cheer you on and provide guidance when you need it. Don't wait any longer to pursue your dreams. Join smallbizladyacademy.com today. We build businesses and we help you build the life you've always wanted.
Welcome back to the Small Biz Chat podcast. I'm Melinda Emerson, your host, and I'm here with Jack Wilson. Jack, talk to me about, I'm buying this business, but I'm buying the employees too, right? How do you assess whether or not you want to keep all of the employees that you are inheriting, and how can you smoothly bring in some new blood without disenchanting everyone that's there?
That's a great question. It is something that's absolutely vital. And it starts with the basics: clear communication and transparency. And what's the objective there? That's pretty easy. You need to build trust. And if you come in building trust with clear communications that's consistent, transparent, all of that really, really helps you. So that's where I would probably start. And then you want to, after looking at what the business already has in existence, perhaps it's time to start talking about retention bonuses, incentives to keep them there, especially the ones that you deem are the type you want. And what are you going to use as retention tools besides that? career development opportunities. Many of these small businesses don't have a career path that they've laid out for employees, so the attrition rate is normally a little higher in that sense. But when you can show career development opportunities and show how the training will happen and things like that, it really helps people. Another strong one is when you align compensation and benefits with industry standards. They know the friends who work in the same industry. Are they getting way more in either of those areas? Well, you want to be able to do that. That's really helpful. And then you want to set the tone as the CEO of the business for the company culture. It's got to be a positive one. It's got to be one that shows that you respect the existing culture that was there. You start blending that culture that you're bringing in, and then you start building team morale. And then involve the employees in that integration process. Again, many more things that can be done, but that's a few of them.
I like that. I like all of that stuff. It's positive. It's not negative. So I appreciate it. And last question for you, Jack. What is the best business advice you've ever gotten?
It was pretty simple. Buy one, grow one, and do both of those things with your exit strategy in mind.
I love it. I love it. All right. Thank you so much, Jack Wilson. He is a franchise development consultant and my good friend. Thank you so much for being here. And when we come back, we are going to talk about how to turn your business into a franchise. We've got a great entrepreneur here. Stay with us. You're watching the Small Biz Chat podcast, and we will be right back.
Hey there, I know times are hard out here for some of y'all in business. And listen, I have a great free resource that you guys can go and get all the information you could possibly want about how to start or grow your business. It's my blog, succeedasyourownboss.com. I have over 5,000 articles there where you can get information on any topic you can imagine, from running your business on the cheap to growing your business online. So check it out. Go and subscribe today to succeedasyourownboss.com.
Hi there. Welcome back to the Small Biz Chat podcast. Now it's time for me to introduce my guest, Keenan Fisher. He's the managing partner of Tommy Guns, a Canadian-based barbershop and grooming salon known for its commitment to providing a unique and exceptional grooming experience. Keenan has revolutionized the modern barbershop experience while building a thriving franchise across Canada and beyond. Keenan's business journey began at 12. He helped his family's dog treat factory, and later his family founded charter salons. That early exposure to business gave him the foundation to carve the path in the barbershop industry. His vision led to the creation of Tommy Guns, a brand that merges traditional barbering with a modern touch. For more information, go to us.tommyguns.com. Hi, Keenan. Welcome to the Small Biz Chat podcast.
Thanks, Melinda. Excited to be here today. Appreciate it.
All right. So tell us about Tommy Guns. I kind of get my hair done in a more different kind of salon than the one that you run. So tell me about how your business works.
Absolutely. So we started Tommy Guns because we saw a big gap in the marketplace. And in our industry, you basically had two options. You could go somewhere convenient that wasn't the experience you wanted, but it was available today. Or if you wanted to go somewhere with a great experience, you had to book 4 to 6 weeks out. And us guys, we're not typically great at planning ahead. We usually say, I got a date tonight or a meeting tomorrow and I need to get my hair done. And so with that type of planning, we typically weren't getting the experience we deserve. So we went out to set up a concept where you could get an ultimate barber experience from start to finish, but when you want it. So we integrated technology where you could get in a queue system the day you need your hair done and need your service, and still get a great and elevated experience without having to compromise.
All right. So tell me, how many years did you run your business before you turned it into a franchise?
So we're a bit unique in the fact that we had a franchise background prior to Tommy Guns. So when we started Tommy Guns, we were intent on creating a franchise-based model from day one. So essentially, we had that in mind from the onset. Mm-hmm. But you can't obviously just franchise based off an idea, because you're selling a business model that's proven, right? That's the benefit of franchising is, the franchisor paid the learning tax of figuring out and made the mistakes and built out the systems that work. So we started with our first location in Red Deer, Alberta, which is a small Canadian town. And we opened the first year and we doubled our initial budget. So, we're high fives all around, feeling pretty good about ourselves. And but knew from our experience that, okay, just because you're successful with one location doesn't mean you can be successful with many. So we built a strategy where we essentially started franchising, but we franchised within our inner circle, so people that we were already doing business with. And we went into multiple different types of markets and different types of real estate to see how the concept would take. Because what we needed to understand is, that we weren't the reason it was successful at being in our home market where we lived, promoting it to our friends and family, and that it was a scalable and expandable type business where the market was big enough to grow. So we went to about 5 different markets under that strategy, and luckily they were all successful, right? So we learned a lot through that process. We built out systems and training and marketing programs, learned how different markets function. And once we got to that point, then we knew, okay, now we have something that we really believe we can scale on. And our big focus was building in our systems in place so that as we scale, they can keep up and have the proper level of training and support to make sure that those franchise partners are very successful as they open.
So how long did that whole process take? Like, how long did it take you to get 5 that were all rocking on all cylinders before you said, all right, we're ready. Now we're ready to go to market with the franchise?
That was about a 4-year process.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we pressed go and then kind of expanded out that network.
All right. So how many franchisees do you have now?
So we have about 40 franchisees across over 100 locations. So 80% of our franchise partners are multi-unit, which was a big thing for us, is we weren't selling a job, we were selling a business they could operate, right? So by doing that, then you have a scalable system. So and that's been our best validator as well. We've always granted single unit operators, and then because of the success, they've wanted to reinvest, and we're obviously excited to grow with our existing people and been able to expand off of that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So I love how you talked about the initial phase where you said you had to go out and get 5 because you wanted to prove that this thing worked in different shapes and sizes, right? So what kind of experts did you rely on when you decided to turn this thing into a franchise? Because even though you knew franchising, you still needed some help, right?
Absolutely. We still need help today all the time. We're always learning. So, I'm a big believer in having a great and strong network around you and always looking to learn from not only within your industry, but from outside of it as well. Some of the key things we did was attending like IFA and CFA, which are the International Franchise Association and Canadian Franchise Association conferences. Those were incredible for us in making the right contacts and building our network. I'm not very shy, so I was reaching out to other leaders of franchise systems that I admired to see who would take my call and give advice and share best practices and share their wins and losses. So we're willing to pay our own learning tax on our own learning curve, but also wanted to learn from others as well. So I think, that you have to have the mindset of knowing that you're not going to know everything and you're going to have your learning situations. But if you can seek that information from the outside, that's going to accelerate your growth, right? And you'll make less mistakes internally because you can learn from others. And so we've taken that approach and continue to today, for sure.
So tell me though about, like, did you have to have a, franchise development consultant, your lawyer, your financing partner, like tell me about those kinds of partners that you had to have in the beginning.
100%. So great one you brought up is having a great franchise lawyer. And not every franchise lawyer is created equal. So it's very important to get references and vet out the proper franchise lawyer that's going to help you get to where you need to be. And there's lawyers out there that specialize, that spend 100% of their time simply in the franchising space. And that's my biggest recommendation, is get there early, have great and strong franchise agreements and a legal process. If you do that right from the onset, it saves a lot of problems later on. So that was a great one. And then access to capital is critical. So we worked hard early to create partnerships and alignments with different lending institutions that could provide bespoke and standardized programs for our franchise partners. So in the U.S., that's, a lot of that is the SBA programs. In Canada, we have our CSBFP programs, which are a similar backed program where the banks have a separate backing, and those are critical in growth, because without access to capital, you can't grow.
Got it. So that was good. So that was pretty much what you needed. Did you guys do your own franchise development because you kind of were familiar with the franchise world?
We did. So my approach to franchising, or our approach, is really, though, you do have to have lots of different lines in the water. So if you've ever been fishing, in the back of the fishing boat, you got 5 or 6 lines at different depths with different bait, and it's the same thing in franchising. So you exhaust your own network. You market to your customer base. You work with different franchise brokers. You do the franchise shows, and different lines work better at different times, right? You need to have as many touch points as you can, because it's not just about finding someone who wants to invest in your concept. You're also trying to find the right people. So you're going to talk to a lot of potential investors, potential franchise partners, before you get the right ones. And that's a real critical thing, again, especially for young franchisors, but really you never want to lose that. It's very hard to say no to someone that wants to cut a check for your shop if they're not the
right. Right.
In the early days, right? You're running a thin margin, but that's critically important, right? And we've had to do it where it's like, I could have really used that franchise fee, but
you were like, nope, thank you. Take your money and roll. So did you guys do all your own recruitment, or do you guys have a firm that does your sales for you?
We do it mostly internally. And then we do a little bit of external as well, where we've created alignment with franchise brokers. And that's about all building our network as well. So we attend the shows, we meet all the brokers, we share what we do. And so you create those alliances, and then when they got individuals that are a great fit, they can typically bring them to you. And so a lot of franchisors too are scared away by paying the franchise broker fees, right? The big commissions, and
they get they get 60-70%. I mean, they get a good chunk, don't they?
It feels like a lot. It does, but I would say it's worth it, right? Because they're pre-vetting these individuals. So when you're doing it on your own, you got to do start to finish vetting. And then they're getting people where they've spent a lot of time with them. So by the time they get to you, there's a higher likelier chance that they're going to be a good fit. So it's worked great for us, but we've done all the different lanes, and we've got incredible operators through each and every one of them.
Okay. So that cost per acquisition cost, you're like, hey, you just got to pay it to get quality.
Yeah, you got to pay to play, I guess.
So talk to me about how do you handle franchisee feedback, right? Because everybody's not happy every day that they're a Tommy Gun franchisee. So how do you solicit feedback from them, and how do you respond to it?
Well, to me, it's incredibly important, right? So the magic doesn't happen in the boardroom in our business. It happens in the field, in the shops. That's really the business that we're in. So it's incredibly important for us to stay connected with it. So we're very proactive in that approach. So obviously you got to deal with the things that just come up out of the blue, where someone has a call and it's an unsolicited conversation. But we take a proactive approach. So we've developed a brand advisory council that's made up of elected franchise partners throughout our network. And we work hand in hand with them on an ongoing basis on how the business is going, what's working in our marketing fund, where's the feedback, what can we do better operationally. When we're building new programs, we're helping them engage in the process early, so that by the time it hits the street or gets out into the network, it's been vetted and tested and has a much higher chance of success. So to us, it's critical. Like, if we were to lose touch with what's happening at the shop level, it would be very hard for us to do a great job as a support office. So we're definitely go on the front foot on that and take a proactive approach and push the dialogue.
All right. And when we come back, I want to talk to you about the support systems that you have for your franchisees after the initial training. You are watching the SmallBizChat podcast, and we will be right back. All right, Keenan. So I have another question for you. Tell me, what kinds of things do you do? Because I know that, when franchisees first sign up, they come for a week or two and they get trained or whatever. Like, what do you guys do on an ongoing basis, though, to support your franchisees?
Yeah, absolutely. So we obviously have the base, which I call the baseline. So you have your operations manual and your training systems and all that. But for us, we view it as a business partnership, and our role in the business is to support their success operationally, financially, and so on. So we take a real in-depth approach where we'll actually do one-on-one business analysis meetings where we're taking all the tools we've developed, all the systems, and doing a deep dive in their operational business, the financial support or performance, and build out very detailed annualized plans for our business owners that they can execute on to improve the performance of their business. So we take a very hands-on approach. We have a robust operational and marketing team that works with the network to help them grow and execute at a high level. So we focus on operational excellence. And that's been our approach to the business versus just handing over materials and documents that they're supposed to follow. We have all those things, but we believe in a more hands-on approach and being that real true support arm to the business partners.
That's actually really impressive. I actually have not heard of anyone doing a one-on-one business analysis with their franchisees. That's really smart. So how many years now have you guys franchise been in existence?
So we are 2 weeks away from our 15th anniversary.
All right. The big 1-5. That's awesome. And so I would be remiss if I didn't ask. So how much does it cost to be a Tommy Gun How much does it cost to be a Tommy Gun franchisee?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a somewhat market dependent because some markets are a little different. A big part of the cost is the build outs, but on average, a Tommy Guns to get in is in between 450 and 550,000. That's a turnkey investment, so it includes equipment, inventory, fees, building the shop out, all in.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, and people buy 2 or 3 from you at a time. Is that what you said?
Oftentimes they do, yeah. And they typically start with one, and it goes well, and we go from there. So, yeah, over 80%, like I said before, are multi-unit, which for us is our best validation and compliment. We're always excited to grow with our existing group.
I love it. And last question: what is the best business advice anyone has ever given you?
The best business advice I ever had is just clearly to surround yourself with great people. You know, to be successful, you don't need to know everything. You don't need to be the smartest person in the world. You don't need to be the most skilled or talented, but you got to recognize your vision, recognize what you're good at, and then surround yourself with people that are supportive, want to elevate you and make up for the areas that you're not, particularly great in or aren't your strong points. So doing that, having multiple mentors, and just surrounding yourself with an amazing network. And that's been kind of my approach because of the advice I got early on in my life, mostly from my dad, to be clear. He was my first mentor and still is. And that's, he pushed that on me, I think probably since before I even understood what he was talking about. And that's by far the best advice I've ever had.
Yeah, well, my pop was my first business mentor too, so I can completely relate to advice that occurred to you later. Like, damn, that old man might have known what he was talking about, right? So, anyway, thank you so much for being a part of the SmallBizChat podcast. Yeah, your advice was very, very helpful. So I know my audience will really appreciate it. And coming up, when we come back on the SmallBizChat podcast, we're going to talk about real estate. We're going to talk about how to bolster your business with real estate, potentially as your retirement plan. You're watching the SmallBizChat podcast, and we'll be right back.
Are you ready to turn your dreams of entrepreneurship into a reality? Hi, I'm Melinda Emerson, the Small Biz Lady, and I want to invite you to check out smallbizladyacademy.com. We're here to help you every step of the way with our comprehensive training programs and expert resources. You'll learn how to start and grow a successful business that aligns with your passions and your goals. From business systems to sales strategies, we cover it all. Plus, our supportive community of fellow women business owners is here to cheer you on and provide guidance when you need it. Don't wait any longer to pursue your dreams. Join smallbizladyacademy.com today. We build businesses and we help you build the life you've always wanted.
Hi, everybody. You're watching the Small Biz Chat podcast on my YouTube channel. I'm Melinda Emerson, the Small Biz Lady. I hope that you will subscribe. I want you to share it with others. And by the way, go and like my Facebook fan page too. I would really appreciate it. I don't want you to miss another episode of the Small Biz Chat podcast because we drop knowledge over here. So with that, let me introduce my guest, Sonia Booker. She is a social real estate developer. She is the CEO of the 16th Street Equity Group, a company dedicated to reimagining affordable housing. With over 20 years of experience, she has developed and managed over $200 million in single-family, condominium, multifamily, and commercial property. Sonia's areas of expertise include all aspects of construction, development, and building exit teams. Her hands-on approach to building is what makes Sonia's talent stand out from the field. She is based in Atlanta and she is amazing. So all you have to do is head over to soniabooker.com to learn more about her. So Sonia, welcome to the Small Biz Chat podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh gosh, I'm so excited to talk to you. Let's just jump in. How did you get started in real estate?
Well, I like to say that I grew up in real estate. My grandfather owns tons of land and in Mississippi, a little place called Utica, Mississippi. And I grew up staying summers on a farm with my grandparents, being in the household with my mom, who was a single parent at the time, and working in the summers. And so it was like you had to go spend time with your grandparents. And it ended up being a really good thing because I got to do a lot of activities and see a lot of things. My grandfather was like one of the first entrepreneurs that I knew. And I learned a lot from him in reference to real estate and the value of it and why it was so important, to build wealth with it, to build generational wealth with it, to leave a legacy. And that just kind of stuck with me. And even though I dabbled in a couple other things, I ended up in real estate and, I couldn't imagine anything else at this point.
Well, tell me, so if I am, running my business, but I got a little bit of change over here and I want to start getting into real estate, what are some of the first steps I should take if I have some capital but not like a whole lot? Like how do I get started in it?
Yeah, I tell people the biggest thing is to really just try to kind of take that assessment. Everybody is always like, I want to start in real estate, but what does that look like? It's so many ways that you can invest in real estate. And the worst way is to think that you have to be a real estate flipper that, we get so energized by watching television sometime and it's like they make it look so easy and, in 30 minutes, everybody's made a boatload of money. And so it just gets everybody off the sofa and they're like, I am out here being a real estate investor. No, that is not what you want to do. You really want to think about how much time you have and what are your ultimate goals. And do you have time to build a team? And who's going to do that renovation work that you know or trust or could get referrals from? That makes or breaks an entire real estate transaction, not knowing what you're doing and not having a good team in place. And then you're at work or running your business trying to now manage a real estate project is a very bad idea. So I tell people to really just think about what are you trying to accomplish? Is it extra money? Is it building assets? And whatever that is, really kind of go slow and putting together a plan as to how you're going to make that happen.
Wow, I think I do. I mean, I do love it or listed. I'm gonna tell you, I do. But I know what you're saying. I do know what you're saying. So,
That was actually okay. I mean, that was like, It's not like, there's so many other ones that, people
I
watch.
know, I know. There's some other ones that look
That's my
scarier, right?
son's favorite. Love it ever
I love them, but but okay, so everybody doesn't have to be a flipper, but what can everybody do? Like if I'm not going to do that, what could I do? Are there turnkeys you can buy? Like
so.
tell me about sort of like option A, B, and C. If I want to get into
Yeah.
real estate, what are my realistic options?
Yeah, yeah. So, I wrote this little book, it became a bestseller, like Real Estate and Wealth, Investing in the American Dream. And it's a book that you can pick up on Amazon and on my website. But, really the key there, I talk about this idea of this matrix. And it's like three top things that you want to think about when you're deciding what type of investor you're going to be in, what do you have access to? And that's looking at credit, that's looking at money, and that's looking at time. Those are the three things that are really going to help you determine which way you should go in. Because and so when you think about all the different ways that you can invest in real estate, there's a lot of people that say, most people get completely attracted to the field because of the no money down aspect. Okay, well, if you have no money to put down, but you have some time, then maybe you should be a wholesaler. A wholesaler is a person that's going to go out and look for deals. They're going to drive around, driving for dollars, driving for properties. They're going to be online, searching tax records, looking at, people that are in pre-foreclosure and things that are happening in the market. Then they're going to find other investors that they could then move those properties to. And then they're in the middle that all they had was their time. They might not have any money, any credit, but they had time to sit there and create those deals and be kind of that liaison and make money in the middle of that. So that's a way that you could become a investor. You can start in real estate that way, and a lot of people do that. And when you start as a wholesaler, which is how I started, and when you start as a wholesaler, you're always a wholesaler. It's the skill set that never leaves you, right? Because I could be in Target or Walmart or at the doctor's office, and I'm always talking to people about real estate. Everybody loves to talk about real estate. So I'm always like, or if you know anyone that's in trouble with a property or is looking to sell a property or purchase a property, pass my card on, and I pay referrals. Like, that's it. I didn't say how much of a referral. I didn't say, and it gets people kind of talking like, oh, wow, like I can make money in real estate. Yeah, my cousin friend is behind on their mortgage, and just like that, you start finding, out and finding these deals. And then that might be somebody that made $100 for just telling you about that or more. But that's the thing that it's a skill set that you learn, and you're always, kind of talking about real estate. And then I started as a wholesaler because then I could go into other, fix and flip. I could take that money. I wanted to build enough money so then I can go and do some short-term real estate fix and flips. But then I knew my ultimate goal was asset accumulation. And I knew that I wanted to have apartments and multifamily and things where I was getting income, residual income, and I had the asset that was continuing to grow. And I wanted asset accumulation, and I wanted, passive income. So that was my ultimate goal, but it took me like, a while to like actually reach that goal. So just kind of map it out.
Mhm. I think
Yeah.
that's really interesting. What types of financial habits should new investors adopt? Right? Obviously, you just said one, keeping your ear to the ground about different stuff comes up. But what other kinds of habits should folks that want to get into real estate like should they start, should they become a realtor? Should they start learning how to read the MLs or stay on Zillow every day? Like what kinds of things
Yeah.
should they be doing to learn about real estate?
I think that that's what makes real estate so attractive, especially as a wealth building vehicle, because we have a point of reference for it. We all have lived somewhere, we've grown up in a house, an apartment, whatever. We've gone to hotels, so we have this point of reference that makes real estate that kind of thing that we're like, okay, this makes sense. And then, the mechanics of it is, buy low, sell high. It's a numbers game. So
Mhm.
I think that, yeah, I think a big part of it is just, if you don't like to talk to people, right? So, because I know my strong suits, I talk to everybody. So I'm in the neighborhood. I'm walking down the street. I'm talking to people. I'm finding out what's going on. I'm at the corner. I know what's happening here. I know who's moving. I know that. And it's like once you get out there. But if you're not a people person or you don't have time, then don't think that you're gonna do that. And I think, and then people are like, oh, it doesn't work. So if you're like more of a behind the computer person, then you are looking at Zillow. But what you're looking at Zillow to do, like reading that or reading a tax record is real important. Like, okay, now that I know how to find this information, what does this mean? And so really kind of learning, all those different mechanics is very important. And I didn't realize just kind of this idea of this $20 book. I mean, I have all kind of podcasts and all kind of stuff that I do. But in that, I have all these pictures of how to read a tax record, how to look at a MLS report, a multiple listing service report, that, what does days on the market means to a transaction? If something is staying on the market for more than 90 days and the market is moving, at a faster rate, then that means that something is overpriced. And it means you might have some opportunity to go in and ask for a lower price because of the days on the market. So all of those things start to, you have to like start to look at and then understand what you're looking at. I could spend hours on tax records researching. For me, property is like it's like DNA. It has like this history, and you can kind of track it from, okay, it was built in 1929, and then this person lived in it, then this happened, and then that, and all these different things that you can see just by like studying the property and the tax records and stuff. And the only other thing I would say is you do not have to become a realtor to be a real estate investor. I've never held a real estate license. As a matter of fact, if you're going to be an active real estate investor as your main core, then you can have a lot of conflict of interest by being a realtor. Because you're showing up now to purchase someone's property and you're not educating them that they're selling their property under market, or then they could come back and feel like you had more information than they did. And so you have this kind of onus at that point with that license to have educated or given information, even though they weren't your client. So they could very well then say that you were in violation because did not, you had that information and they did not. When you're an investor, you're showing up as the seller and they are the buyer. And, you are coming to a conclusion about what you're going to buy, the property for. And so there's no conflict there.
Got it. Got it. All right. So how do you, as a new real estate person, how do you sort of build your team, your crew of people that you need to help you do a fix and flip?
Yeah, that's a good question, because it's like this kind of this dream team that you need. And you do want like to work with real estate agents. Like they're good team members because they'll bring you properties, and then they'll also be able to list the property that are going to finish, and things of that nature. Then you need that licensed contractor, and you get a lot of these people by getting out there and getting in the market. You always are asking for referrals. You're asking for, even if you go and you start researching a a contractor, then you're wanting referrals from them. You want to go and see some of the properties that they, completed. And then as you start to really get out there and close a couple deals, then that person's going to be a little bit more committed to you because they see that you're a serious investor. Imagine how many people just kick tires, like, oh, go look at this property for me, and give me an estimate. Oh, I didn't buy that one. Oh, can you check this one out? It's their time too. And so they're going to charge you sometimes, a fee, $75 or whatever, just to go out and look at something. But as you get to build those relationships and people see you're serious, then they're going to be a little bit more apt to go out and, really see themselves as more of your partner. And all those little things won't count. But don't be afraid to, I mean, you're making an investment. So, don't be afraid to put up a little money in terms of due diligence, on the front end, getting the people that you want, but get a lot of referrals, ask other investors who they're using, because it's a tight market. And just because someone is a, um, agent doesn't mean that they know how to work with investors. And just because someone's a contractor doesn't mean they'll understand the level of work that you need to have done if you're buying a property just to rent it out. You're not going to go in and put $50,000 in a rental property that you just need to kind of put some paint and carpet in, because you're going to rent it out. And so if they don't have that level of workmanship, then they're always thinking like, oh, we got to do granite, we got to put tile in here, we got to do this. Like, no, we can't. I can't. The
Hey,
value is not.
I'm not
Really
living in here. You can't make it a Taj Mahal. Can't do it.
I'm not living here. Yeah.
All right, Miss Sonia, what is the last question I've got to ask you is what is the best business advice you've ever gotten?
Oh my goodness. So my mentor, the late Herman J. Russell, senior of the iconic H.J. Russell and Company, um, he became my mentor. And the thing that he would always say to me, and it sticks out to me, since passed away, and he always would say, Sonia, you have to focus. And I would always say, I am focused. And because I think, and now I see it more, like sometimes we can do too much and we have like, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But it was like, focus in on what it is you're doing. And that sometimes is really hard. It was really hard for me. And the more I get all over the place sometimes, I hear him like, Sonia, you have to focus. So being able to focus on, what that is in front of you or what that current strategy is. I think it was someone really, really, great that said, we can do a lot of things, but just not at the same time. We can be a lot of things, but not at the same time. And so that ability to focus in these one areas and then go to the next, I think is really important. It was good advice for me.
Do you like to listen to podcasts? Well, I have one. It's called the SmallBizChat podcast, and I've been doing it for over 5 years, and I have published more than 250 episodes. Now listen, if you want to go and search all of my podcasts, all you have to do is head over to smallbizchatpodcast.com and you will be able to get all of the information you want. All you got to do is drop a topic into the search bar and you can find it. So head over to the smallbizchatpodcast.com today and check us out. I like to keep it snackable.
I want to invite back my guests, Jack Wilson, Keenan Fisher, and Miss Sonia Booker, and we're going to have a quick panel that I like to call Hit It and Quit It, y'all. And that's exactly what I mean. So I want you guys, I'm going to ask you a question. You only have 30 seconds to answer, and you cannot repeat somebody else's answer. All right. If you do, I'm going to give you the cowbell. I don't want to do that. So, Jack, we've had you waiting the longest, so I'm going to ask you first, then you, Keenan, and then you, Sonia. All right. First question, easy one. What is your favorite podcast? Jack, what is your favorite podcast?
That's simple. It's a industry one, but it's called Franchise Secrets by Eric Van Horn.
Love it. Love it. All right, Keenan, what's your favorite podcast?
I listen to the Scott Galloway podcast. You get a little bit of humor mixed with what's going on in the economy and in business. I like it.
I like him too, actually. He's really funny. Sonia, what is your favorite podcast?
Well, Small Biz Lady has like really got up there for me. And then I have a podcast that I produce and listen to as well. But I like the Small Biz podcast. I learned a lot just even, today. So I'm listening.
Thank you, Miss Sonia. I appreciate the shameless plug. All right. Now, second question. What is your favorite business app? Keenan, you're first this time, then you, Sonia, then you, Jack. Favorite business app?
Yeah, my favorite app is LinkedIn. And the main reason I use it for a lot of different things, but the main reason is I love reading about everybody's successes on there. So I get pretty excited when people are doing great things and having wins. So I can go on there, scroll through a bit, get pretty motivated and inspired for my day. So I like LinkedIn.
I like LinkedIn too. All right, Miss Sonia, what is your
That
favorite
was
app?
gonna be mine. He totally took
I
my
told
thunder.
you, you
I
better
grabbed my
find
phone
something
like
else. You better find something else, chick.
I grabbed my phone like what is
You better say IG or something. You better
I
find you something else.
know, it's awful. I know. I'm gonna have to say oh gosh, I'm gonna have to say IG. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It,
that's where I see
it's
you most.
it's
You
just
show up most
it.
for me on IG. That's where I see your stuff. So,
Yeah. Yep.
all right, Instagram for you. All right, Jack, what's your favorite app?
Oh, mine are taken, but I'm going to say probably following up with uh, probably Facebook because I like both B2B and B2C aspects on there. But I'm starting to grow into TikTok, so hang on.
All right, you gonna start dancing for us, Jack, on TikTok?
Hey,
Okay.
hey, Jackie Wilson, he can dance. You know that.
Jackie Wilson can dance. The other Jackie Wilson. All right. Third question. This one I'm coming to you, Sonia, first, then you, Jack, then you, Keenan. What is your favorite old school marketing tip? Favorite old school marketing tip.
Oh my gosh. My favorite old school marketing tip is to understand who you're marketing to. I think that's like a forgotten art. Like,
Yeah, have a niche market, that's for sure. All right,
yeah.
Jack, what's your favorite old school marketing tip?
Boy, that's. I'm trying not to be old school anymore, and you pushing me back there.
He's going to TikTok.
I told you I was moving into TikTok. Honestly, I think it is be where your people are, be where your clients are, be visible, whether it's digitally or in person or a representative, but fish where the fish are without a doubt.
I love it. I love it. And Keenan, what's your favorite old school marketing tip?
I think it's focus on where you can build connection, right? So we're barbershops, which are a hub of the community. So it's easy to get lost in the digital world and all the stuff that we do now, but don't forget your community, build those connections, and be a part of it.
Love it. Love it. All right. Last question. Last question. Jack, I'm coming to you first, then you, Keenan, then you, Sonia. What is the best business book you have ever read?
Got a lot of them because I read about 30 of them a year. But I'm going to go with something in line with what I talked about today. It's entitled Buy, Then Build: How Acquisition Entrepreneurs Outsmart the Startup Game. It's by a guy named Walker Deeble.
I like it. I like it. I think it sounds like a book I want to read. Keenan, what's your favorite book?
So my favorite was Scaling Up by Vern Harnish. It's focused on the Rockefeller methods of business. And you always hear growth kills businesses, right? They grow too fast, grow without a plan. We all want to grow, but we need a plan. And so for us, I've had so many learnings from that book that I use every day. And I read it for the first time 10 years ago. And I still use what I've learned in that book.
I have that book and I've met Vern before. He's good people and that book is brilliant. Sonia, tell me your favorite business book.
My favorite business book is called Building Atlanta: How I Broke Through Segregation to Build an Empire. And it's by the late Herman J. Russell Sr. It is a must read. And they did the documentary on the Delta Airlines. So for months and all, yeah, you could watch it, his story on Delta Airlines. But yeah, Building Atlanta, very, very fascinating book.
Love it, love it. Thank you guys so much for being all of my guests today on Small Biz Chat. Thank you, Jack Wilson. Thank you, Keenan Fisher. Thank you, Miss Sonia Booker. I appreciate you guys so much. And this has been a wonderful, wonderful episode. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to leave you with this. You never lose in business. Either you win or you learn. God bless everybody.